Welcome back to the BOSStimator. Ryan Frick, personal trainer. This is the third tutorial on the BOSStiBidder. The first two explained how the system calculated materials. Second one showed you how the items and everything is combined together and how it's all manipulated into the bids, and how you can change those items or add to or subtract from those items. So if you have any questions on either one of those topics, please go back and watch the first or second tutorial on the BOSStiBidder. This one's going to take you one step further and explain to you how the BOSStiBidder creates the bid packages for the individual bidders now. So let's get right into it, and we'll go from here. Okay, so now that we're there, we've determined before by pressing this little deselect button. It's basically saying that when you're ready, when you're ready to bid out the project, you want to click on that, and it'll bring down the vendors list. The vendors list is right now basically saying, hey, who do you want to supply and bid this project? So you can go through here and select the vendors that you want. These vendors that show up here are the vendors that you set up within the database under the main tab, subs and vendors. So that list is drawn from this list. So if you have 150 vendors, when you come back to the bid, you'll have 150 vendors here. So, which is a lot, and it has the capabilities that it draws from that. The only problem with that is that not every vendor that you have supplies those products. So either most people that bid out projects right now, they got to know who it is, so they bid it out individually. That's what makes the BOSStiBidder awesome again. You don't have to think, which, well, makes it good and bad at the same time. But let's just find vendors and update those items. I'm going to click this button. Now, what the computer just did, it went through and it looked at those items that are in this database or in this bid package and said, okay, I want to go and check in all of my vendors and suppliers, and I want to look through those items that those suppliers that they supply. These are all the items that Home Depot supplies. And if they have in their item list any of these items, I want to bid it out to them. And the reason we're doing that is because we know that they've supplied those items in the past, and thus they'll probably want to bid this project now. So the computer went through there. So if you had 150 items and you click that button, you may have 17 of those vendors show up here. Again, you don't have to use them. This is just the basics of how it started. It says here, Home Depot supplies 5 of those items, 5 of the 6. And Lindsay Frick LLC, he supplies 3 of those items. Well, let's find out what they supplied in the past. I'm going to click on the always purple links. So I'm going to open up that bid package for the Home Depot, and you can go in here and you can see that Home Depot supplied those items. You'll also notice something right here is ID and SKU number. Again, this is what makes BOSStiBidder great. What it did is it went through there and said, okay, yeah, they've supplied these items in their database. But it also went through there and said, okay, in the past, when they bid this item, this is their SKU number that they give that you purchased it by. So when you're bidding out the project, it actually tells the individual vendor, this is your ID number. It goes to their database and it allows them to bid out that specific item without them doing research on it. So that way it makes it so you're bidding apples and apples with everybody. So somebody else may have a different SKU number, Lowe's or Drywall Supply House or wherever, and it pulls that information in here. What it also does, though, you notice it already defaults to a unit rate. It went to their database and said, hey, with that ID and SKU number, that was what they quoted us in the past. So it actually is already starting to pre-fill and give you a bid before you've even done it. And the last time they bid this job, that one was bid on 120. This one was 527. So it actually goes through, determines when the last time they bid it, and tells you when they bid it last even. So that way when you're bidding it out to the vendor, they can say, oh, I bid this thing a long time ago. So it does a lot of work for the vendor as well. Allows you to bid apples and apples with everybody else. And it's still saying, hey, we're still wanting you to bid this project. It did all that without you even doing any research, pulling any invoice, pulling any previous bid package. It did it all behind the scenes that quick. And it did the same thing for every vendor that would show up here. So Lindsay's, he's supplied 2 of them in the past. Let's see what he's got. Well, you can see that anything that's in yellow means that we don't have, they've never bid that item, or we don't have a price for that item. Well, he's bid these 3 items, and there's his ID and SKU number, which is different from Home Depot, and his previous bid dates are different. So it goes to their database, calculates it all, pulls it together into one format, and asks them to bid by their ID or their SKU number. Try to do that with a scratch pad or an Excel spreadsheet or another estimating program. Most other estimating programs don't even give you the details, so you wouldn't be able to even start to calculate a bid package. BOSStiBidder is awesome when it comes to that because it ties it all together and does all that work for you without you doing anything. Bids it out as per the bid quantity. This bid quantity you see here, which one did we change up here? We changed mud 5 gallons for 4. You'll notice here mud 5 gallons, there's 4 of them. Not what was estimated, but what we're bidding it out. So they're actually going to bid it according to what we're asking them to bid at. Okay, I'm going to close this. Well, we've just added, you can see that what the computer did, how it pulled those vendors in, how it pulled their IDs, so they're bidding it according to what their numbers are, not what your numbers are or what your description is. If they bid it in the future and they write down that I'm bidding this item, but it's called drywall on, on their title, it may be called 1/2 by 4 by 12 drywall gypsum standard. It doesn't matter. The computer don't care. Only thing it's looking at is that if they bid it in the past, they've given you a SKU number. It links it together. It doesn't worry about the title. It just sends out their SKU number. So when they're bidding it, they're not trying to figure out, well, is that, oh, that's a different item than what we supply. Well, they have it. They have it, the ID and SKU number already there. Now, let's say we wanted to go through here and we wanted to add somebody else that hasn't supplied it in the past. No big deal. When we know the rest of the people that are on this list, look, there's only 3 of them now. Before there was 5 of them. Well, we've already used 2 of them before. Since those 2 have been used, you don't want to bid it out to them again, so it reduces the items that you have available. So I want to bid it out to outsource. It created a bid package for them. They haven't supplied any, so when you pull that down, every one of those units, but it's the same bid package, so we can ask them to bid it out without having them bid something in beforehand. Oh, well, I don't want to do that. Again, if you don't want to use a vendor that's on your list, all you have to do is select the row and press delete, saying, hey, you're deleting this, are you sure? And it says relating cascading deletes, which means that it's pulling, what that actually means is deselecting the link between these items that you have on the bid package to this vendor. So just answer yes, and then you've deleted it and you've removed it from the bid package. So you have the capability again. Like I said, I'm going to go ahead and add it back just so you can see what we got. It doesn't matter who I chose there. So let's say we got those items in there. Okay. And now we are ready to go to the next step. So what we need to do, excuse me there, is to go ahead and ask them to bid it out. So the next thing you do is a little button there. It says check this button or this box when you've selected all the vendors and subcontractors you wish to bid the above scope of work. Notice it says subcontractors. So this isn't limited just to material. So if you're wanting to bid out, let's say, a complete drywall package, you can have the drywall materials and you can have the drywall subcontractor there as well, or whatever. So if it's just a material list, equipment list, rentals, labor, material, subcontractor, another whatever, you can ask them to bid it. You're the one that established the scope of work. So it's not just for materials. So when you're done, click that button, and you notice when you go back in here now, you can't alter any of these scopes of work or the vendors because now you've established who's going to bid this project out. The next thing you do, you notice that when you do different things, there's different buttons that are available that show up on the left-hand side. One of the things that we didn't discuss is up here at the top, though. We went through all of this and how this is done. There's another button up here that says Open Bid. We'll get to that on the next tutorial, but I'm going to briefly kind of go over it right now so you understand what that means. On the BOSStiBidder, that creates the bids in a faxable format. So you basically press the request bids, and it creates a version of the bid. Well, let's just do that. I'll show you what it does. I'm going to go ahead and request the bid. What the computer is doing is generating a form so that people can bid this project. I'm going to go ahead and reduce this up here. So, right there. What it's doing, it's doing some more things, but I'll explain that in a second. You notice that it's still thinking because there's a circle around the mouse. Well, if you don't see it, you can't because it's a different mouse. But there it says your bid has been published to the BOSSiBidder website. And I'll explain that here in a second, because what it's actually doing still, I'm going to go ahead and press OK. It's publishing it to the internet. And I will get into that in a few seconds, but I will just go back to this form. So what it did is it created that bid in such a fashion so it's consistent with your company information here, the project information here, and who it's going to. It went to that database, said Home Depot. It went to find out who the contact is for Home Depot, where their address is, what's their phone number and their fax number. Puts it on the bid package for you, groups the materials by the type of items that you're requesting. So I got equipment that's requested, materials that are requested. If I had labor or subcontractor or other stuff, it would group those, puts it on there by their SKU number. So when Home Depot gets this, they don't have to do the cross-reference like we talked about. They just go type in their SKU number, and then it automatically, they know what it is, and they just put their price in. Puts the quantity, the units, tells them what their previous price was. So if they put something really odd, it will actually give them, it helps them remember what they bid it in the past for. So it keeps them honest at the same time, which is awesome, because if you was to do that and try to go back and do the back history on it, you'd be doing it and spending so much time just putting the bid packages together. BOSStiBidder does it all. It's awesome. It also puts a generic statement, puts their email address, puts their previous tax rate, but they can change it or do whatever they want to. The number of deliveries, asks them to quote it, puts it in the format that they have to sign it, and when their prices are good through. It puts a disclaimer in there that you have to try to do it. So that's for Home Depot. Well, you'll notice down here it's more than one page. So I got Home Depot, Lindsay Frick, did the same thing. All this stuff is the same. Up here, this is now directed to Lindsay. It also made it so that their SKU number is different and what their previous bids were. Premier Communication, same thing. It is just, doing all this work and created it in a professional format for you just to fax right out. I'm going to go ahead and close this. You can come up here and you can print it. You can send it to a PDF. You can, so that way you can email it. You can zoom it. You can look at 2 pages at a time. So you can see, you have the capabilities that a normal print would have, and you can print it directly to your printer. You can look at, you don't want to change the layout of it because it's formatted for this layout, so it'd be a little bit more difficult for people to understand if you did change the format. You can look at it and get an idea what I'm talking about. But I'm going to go ahead and press closing the print preview here, and it brings it back to here. So right now we've requested the bids. One of the things that you've seen up there, though, on the note, what it said it was published to the BOSStiBidder website. With the BOSStiBidder, that system is made for faxing. The BOSStiBidder Plus. Now listen to this. It's the same thing that you're looking at here. But instead of making it so it's faxing, what it just did, it just sent an email out to those vendors showing what you just looked at, saying, hey, you've been requested to bid this bid package. It also published it to the internet. So it's like in an eBay format. And it said, click this link. When the people got this, when Home Depot got it, it says click this link. They can look at it, and if they all they got to do is open it up on their BOSSiBidder program. It doesn't cost them anything, so there's no you don't think that the buyers they don't have to purchase this thing, but it's made so that you can get an accurate estimate quickly. But it published it. They open up their program. It notifies them right then when they open it that, hey, you've just been requested by the BOSStimator, by your company, on a bid number 3 for a drywall bid package. They open it and it looks it is this. It's Home Depot, that's what they get. They come in here, they change their unit rates. They do that, and they press publish. When they press publish, what happens is it goes back, publishes it back through, and then you'll get a notification that you've received a bid back from Home Depot. And then when you open this up next time, the unit rates, the IDs, and everything is updated according to what they did on their side without you doing anything. That's the BOSSiBidder Plus. We'll get to that in some more tutorials and how that all works, but I'm going to go ahead and close it. This video is so you understand how the items work and the vendors work. Look around, kick some tires. If you have questions, call the boss.